Do number 1. Catching a Dragonair in the Safari Zone. Before the Safari Zone became irrelevant due to PETA, it used to be prime for catching different and unique Pokemon. The other catch to the Safari Zone is that it does not have a typical battle. You don't get to weaken a wild Pokemon, and instead of staying in battle, the Pokemon can just simply run away. Throwing bait and rocks are your only hope. In the first part of the Safari Zone, there is a large body of water. Within these waters are the dragon Pokemon Dratini and Dragonair. In order to encounter them, you will need a Super Rod, and that's all you need to get started. Now all you need is luck. Dragonair has a whopping 1% spawn rate. On top of that, it has a 45% chance of fleeing. Those aren't good odds. If you are hitting it with a rock, it will most likely run away. The base chance of catching this Pokemon is just 8.1%. So when you mix in all the probability together, catching this beast is much more challenging than you may think. I have done it a couple of times, and I can think of nothing more satisfying than watching the Pokeball shake 3 times then go dark. If you want more details on how the Safari works, I would just look up the Safari Zone on Bulbapedia. There are guides for all the Pokemon and even more strategies on the best way to catch them. Do number 2, the Sevii Islands. Spoiler alert to all those who haven't played the game before. FireRed and LeafGreen's post-game has to be one of the main highlights of the remake. After beating the Elite Four, if you have caught over 60 Pokemon, you are granted a ticket to the Sevii Islands. These islands feel like they always should have been part of the game, especially since the anime had the Orange Islands in its second season. Scattered around the island is a post-game that is basically setting up the international internet network in Pokemon, which will allow you to be able to trade Pokemon from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Now, without going into much detail, Team Rocket does make several appearances, and some old characters get a little bit more dialogue. And on top of that, all the islands are filled with brand new Pokemon to discover. This should be the standard for any Pokemon post-game. Introducing brand new locations and new Pokemon, it's that easy. It makes for a much better experience after the main game's done, especially since before it was just catching Mewtwo. If you haven't played through the post-game yet, it is a must, and you should just do it. Number three. The Versus Seeker. This item has been absent in Pokemon games for quite some time now, and it's an absolute shame. If you have been introduced to Pokemon within the last 10 years, you have no idea what I'm even talking about. The Versus Seeker is a key item that allows you to rebattle any trainer on any route. When you challenge them, you might find that they have new additions to their team, and their Pokemon can be at higher levels. With this tool, it is a lot easier to level up Pokemon, train for certain stats, and not be so bored when grinding out the game. You also get paid for every battle as well, and some trainers later in the game will give you a pretty penny for a battle. On top of that, you can get the amulet coin, which will then double your money. You're gonna be a rich motherfucker. In modern titles, we do not get this versatile tool, and it's absolutely devastating. In today's games, you just shove XP candies down your Pokemon's throat, and rebattling is just left to rivals, gym leaders, or other special characters. You wouldn't think rebattling would give a game more oomph, but it really does. The Versus Seeker made me spend way more time playing these games than any modern post-game, which is shocking. But I guess that's really not hard to do these days. The Versus Seeker is available in these games and Gen 4 games, so remember to pull them out and use them, since you probably button mashed your way through the part where you got it. Don't number 1. Back in the golden days of Pokemon, the rival character in the game provided battles that could take you by surprise, especially on first playthroughs. Whether it be location, Pokemon Team Comp, or even written dialogue, rivals such as Blue can be tough to handle. Nowadays, rivals politely ask you if you want to battle, or even heal your Pokemon for you. Pokemon, do you realize a rival is supposed to make your life a living hell as you go through your life? That is the point of a rival. A rival does not have to be your friend and is supposed to be challenging. In FireRed and LeafGreen, Blue does his very best to do so. All battles are unavoidable if you trigger the battle. So if your team is underleveled or hurt, chances are you won't win the battle. I won't spoil all the rival fight locations, but I will say the ones I always had the most issues with are the second and third fights. The second fight is right at the start of the bridge in Cerulean City, and the third is on the SS Anne. The reason I always mentally prepare myself for these fights is because Blue has a Pidgeotto that can sand attack the crap out of you.
Give it! Pocket sand!
And Eradicate that knows Hyper Fang. All great ways to blindside you on your journey, especially if you're doing a Nuzlocke run. Knowing your enemy is most important. If you have never played these games before and are used to the more current Pokemon rivals, just be aware that in these games, your rival isn't a pushover. Pokemon, please make rivals great again. You've done it before, I know you can do it again. Don't number 2. So this one is a tough one because normally the majority of the post game is going through and trying to catch every single Pokemon, including Pokemon that are in the national dex. In the more modern titles, Pokemon has adapted the way to completing dexes by either splitting them up or limiting the Pokemon available that can be brought into the game. With the addition of Pokemon Home and Pokemon Bank, if you are playing through each generation, you already have a majority of the national dex completed. All you gotta do is transfer the Pokemon from home and you're done. These kind of transfers were not a part of Gen 3. Instead, we had to work, and I mean a lot of extra work. For FireRed and LeafGreen, since the game is in Gen 3, to complete the national dex, you must collect all the Pokemon from the Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn regions. First, you have to fully beat FireRed and LeafGreen to unlock the dex. Then, you must complete the entire post-game quest of unlocking trading with the other Gen 3 titles. This will then give you access to all of the Pokemon in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. The problem resides in the fact that Gen 3 had no backwards compatibility with the Johto region in Gen 2. The few places Gen 2 Pokemon can be found are in the Sevii Islands, in the regular Pokédex of Gen 3, and in the extra Sevii zones that were added in Emerald version. Even after all this, you are still going to be short in the Gen 2 department. To find every single Gen 2 Pokemon without cheating is to in fact have Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon Gale of Darkness. Not only do you have to own both of these titles with a GameCube or Wii that is working, and having the special Game Boy connector for trade, but you also have to completely beat both games to unlock both Ho-Oh and Lugia. On top of that, Lugia needs to be purified since it is Shadow Lugia and needs all 3 legendary birds to be caught and purified as well. Are you still with me, guys? That's just a lot of time to get an in-game piece of paper. In short, in order to complete the national dex in FireRed and LeafGreen, you are going to have to beat at least 4 different games on top of whichever version you decided to play. Honestly, it's a long shot right now. With how expensive older games have gotten, Pokemon Colosseum and Gale of Darkness easily go for over $200 each. Not to mention, a legitimate Gen 3 cartridge is close to $100 now. Completing the national dex the original way for these games just gets more difficult as time goes on. If you want this accomplishment, I would settle for straight emulation and game sharking just to get the award. But don't let Pokemon know. They might just cancel you. Hey everybody, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you for watching the Average Joe Show. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to this channel and leaving a like on this video. If you guys have your own thoughts or opinions on the do's and don'ts of FireRed and LeafGreen, feel free to leave them down below in the comments, as always. I'll try to get to them when I can. Now, have a great one wherever you are, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Oh yeah, and here's some footage of me getting absolutely wrecked by Lorelei. I fucking suck.